All right, James, go ahead and wrap it up today with the weekend slate of football. It's the first full weekend on tap. We got college football kicking off today, mostly ACC play. I guess some Big 12 action as well. Mostly they're playing their kind of like cupcakes and whatnot. There are no top 25 top 25 matchups. We got number 1 Clemson in action. They're playing Wake Forest. Number 10 Notre Dame is welcoming Duke to town tonight. And also Sunday we got a full slate of NFL games. So let's go ahead and start in college football, and maybe we'll start with the Clemson Wake Forest game. Anything stand out to you there?
I think so, man. I think Clemson going to do what Clemson been doing in the ACC for the last 5-6 seasons. I don't. Wake Forest. Maybe if they still had Jamie Newman over there, maybe he might be able to spark it up. But I think Clemson going to take care of them. The game that I looked at the most that drew interest to me is Duke going to number 10 Notre Dame. That game come on at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time on NBC. I think that game is going to be a lot more competitive than what people think. David Clipcut, he got some things cooking down there with Duke, with the Blue Devils. Notre Dame, top 10 team. We know what their pedigree is. We know Brian Kelly going to have them rolling. We know Ian Book.
So Ian Book he's back, right? So yeah.
You still, that's a top talent team. That's a blue blood in this sport. We know what they usually bring to the table. I think Duke could surprise them. I'm looking at that game. We got Syracuse and North Carolina. I don't think that's going to be close, to be honest with you. I think North Carolina going to blow their doors off. I really like what Matt Brown has done with that program since he took it over. I think they're going to be one. I think next year, by this time, they might be an elite ACC team.
I was about to ask you, what is the expect? I mean, for North Carolina, they're already number 8 team, which for North Carolina football, that's not always the thing. They have their ups and downs, but it really feels like they've got a thing going on down there, right?
Oh, absolutely. When you look at what Matt Brown has done with this team, just go look at their recruiting class. They got a top 5 recruiting class.
Yeah, Sam Howell, quarterback, for the sake of it.
Listen, Matt Brown is doing some things with this program. And I'm telling you, year 2, we're going to be talking about this team challenging Clemson at the top of the heat. I think because I really like what he's doing. And we see they almost beat Clemson last year. Clemson was in a fight of their lifetime with North Carolina. And
the only team that did outside of the national championship. I mean,
exactly.
They stomped everybody else.
I really like what he's doing. Their team to look at, so I will look at that game just to see how North Carolina come out. But I would say the game I'm most excited to watch today will be Duke at number 10 Notre Dame.
All right. Yeah, I mean, circling back a little bit, I think the Clemson-Wake Forest game is a little interesting. I mean, number one, Wake Forest had a pretty good year last year. And a lot of people don't remember it, but I remember I got clown one show for talking about them. But, they were 9-3. They started at 8-1. And the one loss, they lost like 61-59 to Louisville. And it was some really fluky into the game, if I remember. Like it was some weird penalty or some obscure rule caused them. I don't know what it was, but they seem to have a better team. Now that was with Jamie Newman, and he's obviously moved on, and he's gonna go ahead and go to the NFL draft and next year. So, but maybe there's enough talent left in that team to really kind of push Clemson. And for Clemson, I am super interested because one, my professional team is in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, and we are actually far and away leading the pack, it appears. But I've always been a little skeptical of Trevor Lawrence. I've always thought the receivers kind of floated him a little bit. Well, we know that they've lost. They lost T. Higgins in the NFL draft. Justin Ross out for the season with the neck injury. He won't be playing in 2020. And that offensive line is pretty green. They've got a lot of new faces. You read through their scouting reports and the preseason stuff. They've got a lot of new guys rotating that offensive line. And on defense, they lost some studs. They lost Isaiah Simmons. They lost A.J. Terrell. They lost a couple first-round picks in the defense. So maybe, I get you're an Alabama fan. You know how this works every year. It's just the year that they're, and then it's like, oh, well, they're still good. Wow, that's weird.
And hold on, one thing while we on Clemson, not to cut you off, but it's just a report came up that Trevor Lawrence said that he would graduate in December, and this will be his last year. So if he just said that to ESPN, it's the wonder of how motivated would he be during this season? So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think that was about a foregone conclusion. Trevor Lawrence doesn't strike me as a guy that's not going to be competitive or not have that fire in him. I think he's a real passionate dude when it comes to the game. I don't think that would be a problem, but I do wonder, is he – I want to see, does he look like a first overall pick this season when he doesn't have elite first round talent everywhere at wide receiver? He doesn't have this ridiculous defense to bail him out. I want to see the real Trevor Lawrence. I want to see him persevere with a little bit of adversity, which I don't think he's had much of unless he's in the national championship game. So we'll see how that goes. Also, Florida State, Georgia Tech, 3:30 this afternoon. The Mike Norvell era getting started down at FSU. And again, one of my teams, so a little bit of a homer here. But I think that FSU football has been so bad over the last couple of years, that it's easy to think that they're like maybe never going to get back to it. They haven't won their season opener since 2016 against Ole Miss, but they are bringing back Marvin Wilson, who could be a consensus top 10 pick in the NFL draft, or at least top 15 at worst. Tamorrion Terry is coming back as well. He had a very solid year last year, and he could definitely build on that. And you got Josh Kando, Hasim Najmuddin, Samuels is back as well in the backfield. The schedule for Florida State, though, is brutal, and this is the managing the expectations for this team. 5-5 might be good enough as you're going to get. You get a bye. You're going to get a bye next week because the way the scheduling worked out. You get Miami on the road. You got a cupcake. You got a Notre Dame at night. You're home for North Carolina. You got Louisville, Pitt, NC State, Virginia, Duke. So there aren't a lot of wins when you look at that schedule. There's one. So I think it's incredibly important. You're at home. You got week one with your new coach. Don't do what Willie Taggart did and get smoked in both your opening games. Virginia Tech rolled all over you at home under the lights. And then the next year you had like a 400-point lead on Boise State, and you let that get away from you. Don't start the season like that. Mike Norvell has had a lot of punches already in this tenure at Florida State, and he needs this game to go right. They need to get off on the right foot. That defense needs to be good, and James Blackman needs to not turn the ball over. And I think that hopefully for the Florida State Seminoles, they'll get off on the right track to start off. So that pretty much, I think, covers the college football matchups. Again, there's not a lot of big stuff yet. The SEC hasn't started, so you're not going to get a ton of top 25 matchups, and we have no idea how that's going to shake out with COVID and the other teams not playing. Big Ten still doing their thing. So let's go and go over the NFL. Look at a couple of these games before we let y'all go. So we've got Green Bay, Minnesota, Cleveland, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, New Orleans. I think they're still playing. They had some last-minute issues at the stadium. And then Dallas, Los Angeles, and Arizona, San Francisco. On this list, any of these really kind of jump out at you?
What do they? What?
But it's a loaded week one, man. It really is.
This isn't. I'm interested. I signed up for Green Bay, Minnesota. I like Cleveland and Baltimore. I'm very, very interested in seeing. So let me go back to Green Bay, Minnesota. We seen what Green Bay did in the offseason with the draft, with free agency. If Jay was here, he's still yelling.
I can hear him yelling actually from his house 500 miles away.
So we seen that, but then we seen Minnesota do the total opposite. They had a very fantastic offseason. They plugged every hole that they had. So now we need to see that talent come. And listen, this is a division game, so it matters. Something got to shake. I can't wait to see that. Cleveland and Baltimore. Listen, I just said that I think Baltimore is going to go 16-0 because they have the easiest schedule. But with that said, I want to see, can Kevin Stefanski come in here, give Cleveland a grown-up culture, and make them better?
Yep.
Right? That's what we want to see with this. Cleveland has the talent. We're not worried about the talent. We're not worried about it. We want to know, can somebody sit these guys down and make them play as a complete team? And that is what I'm most interested in seeing. So I'm there for that. Tampa Bay and New Orleans, are you kidding me? Who don't want to see Tom Brady and Drew Brees shoot it out? Now, granted, they do play twice, and I think the second game is going to be a lot better than this one. However, I want to see both of these guys play without playing a preseason game. Let's see how this game turns out. But by the time they play again, we'll have a way better product, I think, because they'll have a lot of games. They'll have games under their belt at that time. So, I'm always signing up for two Hall of Famers going at it. Dallas and Los Angeles. What can we say? We've been talking about that American Express card that the Los Angeles Rams been using with no limit, and they just been spending all that money. But then we got Dallas. We got a new wrinkle. Mike McCarthy calling the plays now. Dak Prescott did not get the contract he wanted. Everybody else did get paid. and the defense lost a lot of juice on that side of the ball. So we're not going to see the same Dallas team we've been seeing for the last couple of years. But you got the Rams; they got most of their budget tied up with 3 players. So what do we see? Do Jared Goff takes a step forward and try to win some games by himself? He no longer has Todd Gurley in the backfield. So that is going to be interesting. And then Arizona and San Francisco. By the way, I'm going to take Arizona in this game. Only because I think in the second year, for Cliff Kingsbury and for Murray, those 2 guys get another year under their belt. You got DeAndre Hopkins now. Larry Fitzgerald gets some help now. You got Kenyon Drake in the backfield. I really do think that the Cardinals got some pieces now. I think they're going to be better than we think. I think the Rams going to be last in the division. So I'm really excited to see that game. So listen, man, it's hard for me to pick one, but if I got to pick one, I think I'm gonna probably go with.
You don't have to pick one. I mean, I was just thinking of them all, like which one's kind of really – I think there's something to like in every one of these games. It really is. I think, again, Minnesota building that team like they have, can Aaron Rodgers carry essentially the same Green Bay team back through the thing again with what an offseason that didn't really help them in any meaningful way, you feel like. Cleveland, again, same thing. Is there an adult in the room? We know what the Baltimore Ravens are going to do. Can the Cleveland Browns come out week 1 against a divisional opponent they're going to have to beat probably at least once to get to the playoffs? Can they come out and do what they have to do? Do we get a better Baker Mayfield? What do we get out of that Cleveland team? So that's really important. Some interesting notes for the Tampa Bay game. Mike Evans likely out week 1 for the Saints. They're going to be missing Cesar Ruiz and Marcus Davenport, 2 first-round picks of the last couple of years. Both those guys are going to be out for week 1. So a couple guys missing, but New Orleans at home, I'd like to think they're going to take care of business week 1, even though I do have a high expectation for Tampa Bay. It might be asking a little too much to beat such a seasoned, cohesive team like New Orleans week 1. Dallas, I have huge expectations for them. I think they're going to be a big offense. They're going to be Zeke's going to be back to form. And I think the Dallas is going to put up a lot of points. And what better test than the Los Angeles Rams, who spent a lot of money on that defense? Can you do it against Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and crew? And yeah, Arizona and San Francisco, can that Cliff Kingsbury experience, can it work in week 1 against a defending Super Bowl runner-up? I mean, can a team that had the success they had, can you come out in week 1 and do that? So we'll see. It's gonna be a great weekend.
Great weekend.